Today's in-depth training topic, we're going to be talking about QuickBooks, how the closeouts work with QuickBooks, and how you can do an import of the information that is generated from Sirius into QuickBooks. There's a couple different steps that need to be done for this. The very first step is going to be looking at your chart of accounts to make sure that the accounts that you have inside of Sirius match the accounts that you have inside of QuickBooks. The way to review this is if you go to Setup, Accounting Setup, and then go to the chart of accounts. This is a listing of all the accounts that Sirius uses. If you click through some of the different accounts, in this case we'll start with the accounts receivable, so I'll show you the account here and then the external account name. The external account name is the name that the system will use whenever it does the QuickBooks export file to be able to send that information over to QuickBooks. So the mapping of the accounts is just going through the accounts that the system uses and making sure that the external account name matches what you have inside of QuickBooks. So the different accounts have the different names. So if I click on undeposited funds, that account is specified as undeposited cash fund. So you can go through all the different accounts that Sirius uses and make sure that the accounts that are used are going to be either created inside of QuickBooks or that the external account name is changed to match the account that you already have inside of QuickBooks. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and post a deposit to an order just so we can see an example of some of the GL entries that get created. After that, then we can run some reports to confirm the information that is saved into the GL, and then what we'll do is we'll do a closeout to actually send that information out and then do an import into QuickBooks. So I'm going to start off by opening up this order here. Go to the Payments tab, and we're just going to post a payment to this job. So the customer gave us $300 in cash deposit for this job. And the payment is posted. So what happens now is under the activities for this order, I'll see my order payment and I'll see the accounts inside of Sirius that are affected, my undeposited cash and then my customer deposits. So what happens now is I can run a couple different reports to confirm all the GL changes that have happened since the last time that we did a closeout. If I do reports, I have financial reports and closeouts, standard accounting reports, so I can run my financial summary and make sure that the date range is set to the last time I closed out, which is under since last daily closeout. And if I preview that, that'll show me all the financial information that has changed so far since the last time that we did a closeout. So I have several income accounts that were affected. I have my customer deposit that we created is right here. Orders due happens from some of the jobs that we went through and created. And also I have several payments that are recorded down here. So this gives you a good overview, but maybe you're looking for more detail on the changes that are going to be sent over. What you can do for that is you can do reports, financial reports and closeouts, GL account reports, and then GL changes detail. Make sure that the day range is still the same since last daily closeout. Preview that. And what that will do is this will show me all of the accounts that are being changed and then all the specific entries that cause that account to be changed. So I can see that my bill, so I marked an order bill earlier. So that job happened from order 1135. And using this report, I can go through and see all the changes that happened that led up to the changes that are going to be sent over to QuickBooks. So there's my customer deposit for order 1137. And at the end, it shows me that this is in balance. Once we've had a chance to kind of go through a couple of the different reports, confirm all the information that's going to be sent over to QuickBooks is correct, then we can actually do the export over to QuickBooks. To do that, we're just going to go up to Quick Reports, pull the drop down here and do close day reports. It's going to ask me, do I want to print, do I want to email, do I want to save the reports that are going to be created for this particular closeout. For now, we're just going to go ahead and preview these. While it goes through the closeout, the very first question it's going to ask you is settle credit card transactions. If you have the credit card module, you'll have the chance here to settle the transactions before you do your closeouts. Otherwise, if you don't have the credit card module, you can just click Note here. Do you wish to record all deposits? That's another option where you can just go ahead and click No. Otherwise, what it would do is it would take the payments that are in undeposited funds and send them to your bank account before you had a chance to send it over to QuickBooks. So the next question is going to be, do we want to close the day on Thursday, September 13th? Yes, we want to close the day. Daily closeout is successful. It's going to ask, do I want to close the export period? That's just closing a separate time frame that goes along with the closeout date as well. So for here, we also say yes. The next question is going to ask you, would you like to perform a backup of the database for your system? For this training session, we're going to go ahead and say no. But when you actually do your closeout, it's highly recommended that you go ahead and say yes. And that way you always have a current backup every time that you do a closeout of the system. So if something happens, we could recover that backup and be able to re-upload your information if something were to happen. Once all that's said and done, what it will do is it will go through and preview several reports for you. One of them is including the GL changes summary, which is a report that shows you the GL changes that happened since the last time that you did a closeout. Then you have the sales report, which is also going to do the same thing. It's going to show you all the sales that happened since the last time that you did a closeout. It also gives you a daily payments, which will show you the payments that were posted since the last time you did a closeout. And then lastly, it gives you the financial summary that we previewed earlier. So this is going to give you the same information that we looked at when we previewed it before we actually did our closeout. What you can then do is you can either save these reports, you can print them out, but then you have a record of the main information that gets changed before you actually do the export into QuickBooks. But now that we've had a chance to review our reports, everything looks good, we're ready to go ahead and import our file. The location that it sends the export file to is going to be found under, if you right-click your control icon, you can do either Open File Location, or you can do Properties, Open File Location, and that will send you to the main folder that contains your control icon. And then from here, there is a file called Report Export. You open that up, that contains all the export files that get generated from series. This file location can be changed if you need to, but otherwise, this is where it's going to send almost all of your export files. And there is the export file that we had just created. So I'm going to go ahead and open up our QuickBooks. And now we're ready to do our import. All I need to do is go to File, Utilities, Import, IIF Files. We go to our location that our report export is in, so we can find the GL export that was generated. Select the file. This is the one that was created just now. So if there's an issue with the transaction, it's going to give you a reason why it cannot be imported. If we go back to that location, I'll import one that we had done earlier. Import IIF files. When you select the file, it'll go through and do the import. It says your data has been imported. Then what you can do is go to the chart of accounts and open up one of the accounts that was used in the import. In this case here, we did an import into OB accounts receivable. So there's the import that went successfully. If the import that you're running does run into an error, basically it will not import any of the transactions that are on that particular import. So then we can go back and review what went wrong with that particular import. So this is here. Go back, do reports, financial reports and closeouts, GL exports, and GL exports for QuickBooks. When you're going to run reports, you have the option in the date range to go to date, since last daily closeout, prior closeouts, and then prior daily closeouts. Using this, you can pull up a previous closeout that had happened within the system. So there's the closeout that we had just done. So I can select that date and preview the report to see what would get sent over. Once you've had a chance to review the file and make sure everything is in balance, then you could save this particular file and try to re-import it to make sure that it works. Find the file that we just did, import it, and everything has imported perfectly fine. So there is the file that we had just selected and did the import for the export that we had just done. And basically what it's best to do is always go through and review, make sure that all the GL accounts, all the files are correct. In this case here, I believe there was a file that was already there that I had tried to import that was not the correct import file. So always make sure that you're using the correct file, and as we saw, reviewing the information on the export file and the GL changes before you actually do an import, just to make sure everything goes over correctly. But that's essentially all it takes to go through and take the file and the information that gets sent over from Sirius into QuickBooks.